My name is Rhiannon. I live, work and rent in Port Macquarie. I contribute to our food system through lots of different ways. I like composting, I like growing my own food, and I love spending my money with local farmers and producers. I think it's important for people to engage in our local food system in the best way that they can. So surrounding the Hastings area, we're lucky enough to have lots of producers and farmers that do a lot of amazing things. There's a lot of farms around us that do a lot of carbon sequestering, which is really amazing. There's a lot of producers that have free range animals, which is also a really nice way of contributing to that as well, contributing to that local economy. And then also there's lots of things that you can do in your house. So there's so many ways that you can grow food in containers. Most landlords will let you put a compost bin, or if you ask politely and nicely, they'll let you dig up a nice little area to put some plants in as well. By doing this, you're lowering your food miles, you know exactly where your foods come from, and it's easy to build connection with local farmers by doing things like that as well. My community composting is one of my favorite projects. It started about 6 years ago. I got permission from my landlord to put in a little veggie plot at the front of my house. And with that, I needed to rejuvenate the soil. From years of just being grass, it needed to be something a bit more special. So I started the compost bin. As a household that uses top to tail of all the food that we eat, there's generally not a lot to put in my compost, and this started the community compost. I got a tumbler, I put it out on the street, and I just painted on the front of it, community compost. Please put in vegetable scraps. And then slowly I noticed the neighbors just started doing that. There were probably about 6 or 7 people that contributed to it on a daily basis, which meant that the soil that I was making it really, really quickly, to the point where I had to get a second bin. It was hands down probably one of the best things that I have ever done in the way of growing my own food, because it meant that the soil that I was producing was just exceptional. So the plants grew so well. Today I'm going to put in some scraps of the onion roots that I have. I've got some wilted leaves, some little bits of beetroot that I can't use, and then I've also got my coffee grinds and my paper filters as well that I'm going to pop in the compost bin. And then too, that I generally just grab a handful of leaves and shove that in as well, so it's got a nice little balance. So this particular compost is connected to the app called Share Waste. It's an app free to anybody. You sign up if you have a compost bin, a worm farm or chickens, and you're in need of some extra waste. People will contact you and ask if they can come and use your compost bin, worm farm, or contribute to feeding your chickens. And then they come over, they put their scraps in, you make soil, and then you can use it on your gardens. Flower garden, or soon to be flower garden. In here I've got cosmos, borage and sunflowers ready for the bees. In this first half, up until about here, I emptied the compost bin, dug in all of the compost, and then this side I left as the soil that was already here. On this side, you'll notice that the seeds that are popping up are kind of really sparse. They're not popping up or germinating as well as what the flowers are in the side that has the soil from the compost, which I think is just amazing to see how beneficial compost is for our soil by taking waste, transforming it, and then using the energy for new plants and seeds.
Can you tell us about this, the idea of successful failures, about failing often, failing well?
Sure. So I've had a lot of successful failures where I've tried to pickle something or ferment something in an effort to save a food where it's just gone very wrong and it's very inedible and it just needs to go in the green bin and just be very far away. I've had a lot of times where I've killed an entire garden as well, where I've tried to grow something and I've just completely failed. And I've failed in composting several times where it's just been overrun or underrun or, yeah. And I think that the only way for you to get better and learn is by failing, because without failing you don't know how to do things wrong. So now I know what not to do, and I try to avoid doing those things. But it's taken years of cultivation. It's taken years of me failing, doing things wrong, being completely devastated and upset about it, but just appreciating the fact that the effort was there and that I tried, and that's all that matters, and then moving on and trying it again the next week and seeing how we can develop and grow from there.
So some great examples of things that you can utilize while renting is regrowing your food from scratch. So this is a lettuce that still had the roots on it. So I finished using it, put it straight into some compost and potting mix, and it's starting to sprout back out the top now. And then I've also, of course, got my lemongrass, which is so easy to regrow from a stalk, and it's just flourishing and smells amazing. And then my little parsley project here, she could be doing better, but she's doing okay. She's getting there. Growing food in containers while you're renting is just amazing to do. You can pick them up and move them to any kind of sunny spot that you need to. If it's not working, just pick them up and move them. But then, of course, when you have to leave, you can take all of your plants with you. I've got quite a few fruit trees. I love my blueberries, I've got my figs. This is my finger lime that does have some little finger lime babies on it, which I'm very excited at the prospect of maybe having one this season. Who knows? And then, of course, I've got all of my containers. You can really utilize anything. So I've got an old pot that all of the enamel kind of chipped off, so I put some drainage holes in the bottom, put some soil in it, and now it fosters my mint plant. My day bed I'm using at the moment to raise all of my plants so they get all of the sun that they need, but also the cucumbers going to start kind of trailing along the edges pretty soon. They're only just popping out with their true leaves. I've got some marigolds in for the bees to attract to my cucumbers so that I actually get cucumbers. And then I've got some quick crops like micro herbs. They're growing in these pots, and my egg carton down here, and then this is just a cardboard box that's also got some micro herbs in it, so that once it's done I can put it straight into the compost bin and I don't need to have a plastic pot or anything for it. And then also reusing my bulk store paper bags to regrow some micro herbs in as well. And then just utilizing as much space as possible, so putting more than one plant in each pot. I love doing that as well, so that they kind of reusing everything, so that anything with a longer root kind of gets the water from the bottom, and then some coverage on the top for those other plants like your marigolds and nasturtiums and things like that as well.
What are your thoughts on how we, as a community, might make our eating habits more climate friendly and more supportive of our local producers?
Sure. Transitioning to a climate friendly diet is as simple as learning who in your area farms. It could be as simple as joining a community garden, and then from there you generally meet people who grow food in their backyard, know a farmer or knows a guy that knows a farmer. We are really lucky in this area to be surrounded by amazing farms that do amazing things. There's chef to farmer who has eggs and pigs and cows and carbon sequests and the way that they farm is just magical. And then you've got Ox Hill that takes beautiful care of their chickens, and Near River who have pigs, and the list goes on and on. There's so many amazing people doing incredible things, and they genuinely love to talk about it. Like, they would love to tell you about what they're doing in their farm. So sometimes all you need to do is go onto their Instagram page or their website and just send them a message and ask them what they're up to, ask them about their prices. I think that a lot of people are also a bit taken aback by the price of particular animal products that come from these places. But I find that when you do invest money in good food, you are not only rewarded with the thought that you know where it's come from. It's come from a local family. It's come within a 100-kilometre radius, so the travel miles are low, but you're less likely to waste it as well. And I think that out of everything that's so important when we're consuming animal products, we really need to be conscious of how much we're utilising, and then making sure that we use every single part of that animal. And I think that all of these farms do an amazing job at educating people on that as well.
So, I mean, lots of people have really busy lives now, and we have habits and routines about how we eat, how we spend our time.
Sure.
And I think lots of people would agree that they feel too busy to try out some of these things.
Yeah.
And I suppose what would be your advice or your ideas or your response to that?
Yeah. It's actually the one thing that I hear the most in most of the workshops that I host, in any of the talks, in every aspect of what I do. I hear I don't have time, I cannot achieve this. My advice to anyone is to choose one thing and do that really, really well. And then once you've nailed that one thing, try something else. So whether it's I want to make my own kombucha, whether it's I want to learn how to pickle so I'm not wasting my vegetables, maybe you want to learn how at the end of every week to look at everything in your fridge and just make something from that. Whatever it is, choose that one thing, do it really, really well to the point of success most of the time, and then try something else. And eventually you create new habits and you create a new routine that's based around saving food waste and making sure that you're growing food or composting or whatever it is that you want to do. Maybe you want to start a compost bin or a worm farm, or whatever that thing is. Just pick one thing and do it well. We have numerous days in the year, plethora of months to achieve one thing and just move on to the next thing. There's so much information out there. There's classes that you can do for workshops and learning how to pickle and cheese and composting and all those kinds of things. You can go to cooking classes and learn how to do so many amazing things. There's books on how to do everything that we're talking about. So if you nail one thing and get that one thing and be really proud of that, try something else, and then slowly incorporate all of those things into your life. And maybe at the end of the year you'll go, oh wow, I've completely transformed my entire life. And it generally doesn't take much effort to do so. So for people on a budget, and particularly providing for a family, if you're providing for children as well as adults, it does become harder to make sure that you're participating in this local food system. For me, it is first and foremost growing greens, leafy greens, herbs, things that you normally spend money on that really are super easy to grow. You're already saving some money there. Joining the community garden. There's so much knowledge there of people that want to share knowledge with you, share harvest with you, and then also linking up with people that are around you that grow food as well. And then contributing to particular farmers. You can buy veggie boxes from so many farmers around us that I personally don't think are expensive. I spend $40 a week on vegetables and feeds 2 people. Learning how to use all of the vegetable as well. makes it a lot easier to provide more meals for a family if you know how to use an entire carrot from obviously the carrot, but then also the fronds. You make amazing pesto from that, and then you can put that into meals as well, and it kind of teaching yourself how to utilize the whole of a plant or an animal makes it a lot easier. And then if you really want to contribute to the animal products, picking one piece of meat that you might be able to use in multiple dishes is another amazing way of just buying one product and then utilizing it several different ways instead of just buying, you know, chops or sausages or whatever. You can take that and then make it into so many other things.